welcome to my channel. Today's video will be a story time video. I will be telling you guys a Christmas story. This is an original piece that I wrote myself. So before we get started, if you could please, if you're a new subscriber, click the subscribe button and the notification bell and we'll get right into it. Get some hot cocoa, get snuggled up, bring a friend, and let's get started. The Bible says, "Give and it will be given to you." This was simply a quote for me to appreciate until my Secret Santa brought it to life. Not that I'd even signed up for one, not since my high school days years ago. I couldn't help but think someone had maybe made a mistake when I'd find a present on my doorstep every night after coming home from work. I'd find them as I'd be trotting downstairs, groggy, pacing around my kitchen, waiting for reality to settle in. Every gift was lavish, over-elaborate for what I thought a Secret Santa should get me. So far I've gotten expensive suitcases and duffel bags, plane tickets to Paris, a 72-piece china set, and a new pair of skis. Today's gift was a gorgeous navy coat, a nice change since this month's first snowfall was forecasted for tonight. Along with it was a typed note that read, "To Jada, messy snowstorm tonight. Stay warm, from your Secret Santa." To be honest, I don't know how I'm so okay with receiving these gifts. I understand the effort that this person is going through, not to mention the exorbitant amount of money they've spent on me already. None of the gifts have been edible or had any drugs or cash contained. Nothing suspicious like weaponry or a dead animal. Admittedly, it drove me crazy to think about who the Secret Santa could be, how high profile he was. Of course, I was suspicious of his grand acts of service, if you will, but every time I received a present, I felt a peaceful energy flood me, as if I was walking on clouds. The phone rang after I finished preparing this morning's coffee. I picked up and it was Paul, a guy I'd been seeing for the past 4 months or so. He'd been away on business in Florida, and I'd honestly hadn't heard from him in nearly a week and a half since he'd left, right around when I started getting these presents. My heart fluttered as I started to think that perhaps my Secret Santa wasn't so secret after all. Oddly though, I'd never even thought to pin Paul as my Secret Santa. While so far he was everything I wanted in a man, he was also brought up in a lower middle class neighborhood from what I knew, and these gifts were so extravagant and accompanied with notes that didn't quite match Paul's speaking style, but perhaps that was the point of Secret Santa. You never know what secret someone's keeping. The following day I'd come home from work around 8 p.m., a bit later than usual. There was a dense sheet of snow on the ground and I could distinctly see my present on the doorstep in fuchsia pink wrapping. But what really startled me were the large man-sized footprints leading up to my doorstep. I shuddered, wondering if my Secret Santa was watching me in this very moment. I picked up my pink parcel and went inside, only to almost drop it when I saw Paul sitting on my living room couch with his hands folded on his lap. His eyes first darted to the package before looking up at me. The teal blue in his eyes locked me as he flashed a grin at me. "Hey, Jai." Oh, that's right. He never called me Jada, not since a few days after we started dating. All the more puzzling with regard to the notes I'd been receiving from my Secret Santa, but anyway, I was pleased to see Paul. "Hey," I said, smiling at him. "I'm so happy you're here. You remembered where I kept the spare key too." "Yeah," he said while I was taking my new coat off. "What's that you got there?" He nodded at the package. Did he want me to open it? I couldn't tell if it was that or if he was playing dumb. "I don't know," I said playfully. "I'll have to see what you got me this time." At this point, I thought the gig was up. But little did I know, things were about to take a very dark turn. Paul's face dropped, and he quietly and coldly told me, "I didn't buy you that." I felt a shock through my body at first, but perhaps he wasn't being sincere. I didn't want him thinking I was doing anything outside of our relationship. I giggled and told him not to be so silly. I found all of his packages on my doorstep since the beginning of December when he left, and today I found my package followed by a trail of his footprints. How could it not be him? But Paul was silent. Deadly silent. He got up, walked toward the window, and shut the blinds. His jaw was clenched. His eyes, once a calm blue, were now chillingly black. I knew right away that I was in danger. I'd never seen this side of him, and I felt cornered. I made a run for the door, but he was so close I was scared I wouldn't make it out, so I ran upstairs. Stupid of me. As soon as I made it to my room, I turned to shut the door behind me, but I was half a second too late as Paul heaved into the door, flinging me to the side. He was now in my room, painfully grabbing a fistful of my hair and covering my mouth. "You die tonight," he spit those words at me. Paul started tying up my wrists and my ankles with rope he kept in my closet. Unbelievably, while he was tying me up, here I was, still trying to figure out where my real Secret Santa was. The big secret I learned about Paul tonight was that he was a psychopath. God forbid his business trip was a killing spree. I was thinking about how my loved ones would find out about my death if my Secret Santa even knew I was in such a terrible situation. When Paul was finished tying me, he tossed me onto the bed and started beating me in the stomach. He then yelled, "Stay there," and got off of me. He exited my room and went downstairs. I bit my lip, trying to stop tears from beating in my eyes. Everything had been going so perfectly until tonight. I was starting to think that it was either too good to be true, a sick prank, or simply a punishment for me being too trusting. It wasn't long until Paul's heavy footsteps were trudging up the stairs again to my room, and this time when I saw him, my eyes widened and my body was paralyzed, buckled to the bed. My throat went completely dry as I saw the silver gleam of a knife that Paul held in his right hand. He got on top of me again, and I saw him put the knife down, which was a brief relief, but soon the air was filled with sounds of me coughing and grunting from him punching my ribs and my stomach. No doubt he was trying to render my flesh and my muscles tender before making any significant slices. I did what I could, which was to bite down through it. Suddenly he stopped. He looked toward the door as if he'd heard something. He frantically picked up his knife, and a voice in my head screamed, "Play dead! Play dead!" I obeyed, cocking my head with my eyes rolled back and tongue sticking out. Hey, might as well have one last laugh. Paul was very distracted by all of the noise echoing from downstairs, and I was curious too. I thought Paul was the only surprise guest this evening. He got off me again and walked into the hallway. Suddenly I heard a pop from what sounded like a gun, immediately followed by a thump from Paul's body falling to the floor. I continued playing dead. Hopefully, if there was another unhinged person in my house, they'd see that the job was taken care of if they were even after me. But then I heard the person slowly going back downstairs and out the back door. I laid for about 15 minutes longer. Paul was definitely dead, laying with a clean bullet through his skull. I was still trying to process what on earth had just happened. I managed to get out of bed and hop to where Paul's body lay. The knife wasn't far, so I rubbed the rope around my wrists and my ankles against it and freed myself. I saw lights flashing outside. There were police cruisers and ambulances. Stumbling outside, heart pounding, adrenaline on 1,000, I ran over to a group of policemen and told them what had happened. They assured me everything would be okay and that the medics would get me to the hospital. I don't remember anything after that except waking up sometime around 6 a.m. the next morning in a hospital bed. I think I fainted. I sat up and noticed that sitting across from me was a teddy bear. There was also a white package and balloons that read, "Get well soon." I had almost forgotten about the nightmare I experienced last night. This just confirmed that while Paul was dead, my Secret Santa was alive and well, and happy to see me alive as well. A nurse walked in and greeted me. Well, good morning, her eyes lightening up. She was middle-aged, had short, curly hair, and a very bright smile. She looked almost too happy to see me. I see we have a little visitor. She brought the teddy bear, the present, and the balloons to me. I thanked her, asked if she knew who sent them. She didn't know. She was happy to see that I was up and said that I was ready to be discharged. She mentioned there was someone in the waiting room who was there to pick me up. When I got to the waiting room, I saw an elderly man make eye contact with me before standing up. He was dressed professionally. Miss Jada, I will be escorting you back to your house. I didn't have the energy to argue with him, so I went. The drive home was fine, and I got to catch up on some extra sleep. When I got home, I headed straight for the kitchen, exhausted. The house smelled like lavender, which wasn't a familiar smell, but it was soothing. Everything in my house was neatly arranged too, as if nothing had ever happened. I opened the present to find a white, heart-shaped purse with a silver handle. The contents of the purse contained a pink lipstick container, which, when opened, revealed that it wasn't a shade of lipstick, but in fact was a taser. Along with it was a glamorous, blingy keychain that was actually mace. There was a note taped to the underside of the lid that read, "Sorry about last night. Everything is all right now. These are for you. Stay safe. From your Secret Santa." A few hours went by. I was watching Christmas movies when I checked the time, 10:30. At first, I got nervous that he wouldn't arrive, but then it clicked. Duh, Princess, remember? I had to wait until midnight. Wasn't too far away. I was getting hungry, so I got up to bake some cookies. They'd be ready in about an hour, which was just enough time until my Secret Santa's expected arrival. The oven bell sung that the cookies were done, and they smelled amazingly delicious. I decorated each cookie, some with jolly snowmen, some with pretty snowflakes, and of course, some with a very merry Santa on them. It was 11:47 when I was finally finished. 13 more minutes. I went to the bathroom to touch up since I'd been barreling around my kitchen baking for my visitor. My reflection was deceiving. I definitely appeared more composed than I actually was, aside from the dead giveaway that my hands were trembling. "Breathe," I commanded myself before lightly tussling my hair and going back out into the kitchen. I looked at the time on the oven. 11:59. Huh? How long was I in there? I guess time flies when you're having a nervous breakdown. The clock struck 12, and like magic the doorbell rang. I promptly clutched the tray that contained cookies, cocoa, and milk and began my stride toward the door. I needed to move swiftly if I wanted to catch him. I opened the door, and to my surprise, the older gentleman who'd given me a ride home earlier was standing there. Maybe I forgot my AirPods? "Hello," I greeted him. "Merry Christmas," I said, offering him cookies. "Good evening, madam." He inched closer, but he didn't take a cookie. He whispered, "I believe there's a present for you." He stepped aside, and behind him stood a tall figure. He was stunningly handsome, in his late 40s, early 50s, very well dressed, donned in a black suit beneath a large black coat. He was limping as he approached the doorstep, and I saw that he was walking with a cane assisting him. His other hand carried a parcel that resembled many I'd seen this entire month, impeccably wrapped with ribbons dancing everywhere. "Hello, Jada," the stranger smiled. "My name's Jacob. Merry Christmas, my lady." "Please come inside," I said, welcoming the stranger into my home. I mean, I did have mace in my pocket. Jacob and his driver, Jeffrey, came in, and I set down the tray. Before either of them could utter another word, I wrapped my arms around Jacob and hugged him, weeping. I let my guard down completely in front of the man who made my holiday season so special. "I'm sorry," I laughed, wiping my tears away with my silk sleeve, which is totally a silk sin. But why me? How do you know me? I asked. Jacob reached into his flat pocket and pulled out a small velvet coin pouch. He gave it to me and asked me to open it. I did, and inside there was a quarter. I looked at him confused. He said, "Once upon a time, I was sitting in Rittenhouse Square Park. I had taken off my hat, thinking about the long day I'd had, scratching my head. Then a little girl walked up to me and she put 25 cents in my hat. She told me her name and asked me if I wanted her mother to buy me food. I politely declined, and the little girl said if I needed anything, she lived right over there in the apartment," she pointed. Now, at the time, I was young, rich, didn't care about the world, but her generosity and willingness to help me at such a young age opened my eyes. It reminded me that I have an obligation in this world to help those who need it. From that day on, I started a Hunger House chain. I didn't come to you earlier because I wanted to wait until you were old enough to control your own finances to give you this. He then gave me the present that he brought. The wrapping was a glittering gold. I opened it, and inside there were papers. "You changed my life," Jacob said. "And for that, Jada, I'm giving you a share of my company." "But Jacob, I can't," I blurted out. As soon as I said those words, I instantly regretted them, as that very memory he recounted started becoming clearer in my mind. He was telling the truth. But could I even manage such a great responsibility? "Please, Jada," Jacob said. His next words broke me. "I'm dying. I need you to. I trust you. I know you will carry on my legacy and make your mark." I didn't know what to say. Tears streamed down my cheeks. It seemed that my life was changing for the better. Yes, I was going to be rich, but this isn't the way that I wanted it to happen. My secret Santa was dying. Jacob hugged me and wiped my tears with a clean handkerchief he kept in his pocket square. "Little girl, are we forgetting something?" "What's that?" I sniffled. "Cookies and milk," he said with a mischievous smile. "I have a long way to go before I get to heaven." The end. Thank you guys so much for watching and for listening. I really enjoyed writing this and sharing this with you all. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below sharing your thoughts on this video, and let me know if I should do more storytime videos for you guys, okay? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have an amazing holiday. Very Merry, Merry Christmas. Thank you.